Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Omar Khalid. But today is the 5th of March 2024 and these are the stories that we will be deciphering during the course of the show. We'll begin with the report that has been released by India Hate Lab, which is a US based research outfit, and discusses the anti-Muslim hate speech that has become commonplace in India. It gives various indicators and of course with facts and figures as to what has been happening and what are the factors that are propagating this anti-Muslim hate speech within India. Nothing uncommon because of the narrative that the BJP and the RSS-led Hindutva ideology has been propagating since quite some time, especially since Narendra Modi came into power in 2014. At the same time, today there was also a Corps Commanders meeting which expressed concerns over the continued repression of Kashmiris in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and condemned the unabated human rights violators by India. This of course is because Pakistan has a lot of concern about what is happening, especially when it concerns the Muslims in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Israel's war on Gaza that has entered its 151st day. 30,631 Palestinians have been killed while 72,043 have been wounded, and of course the attacks, whether it be in Rafah, whether it be the West Bank, whether it be in other embankments, continues, and the number of casualties keeps on increasing, along with the fact that there is a dearth of health facilities and food and water for those Palestinians. There is a ray of light as far as the ceasefire deal that could hold on or could take place in the next coming days, but Israel for the moment is not willing to go forward with it. The Corps Commanders Conference also expressed complete solidarity with the people of Palestine and condemned the serious human rights violations and war crimes being perpetrated in Gaza. This was held in Rawalpindi with the Army Chief General Syed Asim in the chair. Then we'll be talking about China's National People's Congress that kicked off its annual session. Premier Li Qiang announced an ambitious 2024 economic growth target of around 5%. Today, promising steps to transform the country's development model and diffuse risks, vowing to transform China's economy and of course transform the growth model as far as China is concerned, and also curb overcapacity, diffuse poverty and debt risks. Then we'll be talking about the United States Supreme Court that has taken a decision in favor of former US President Donald Trump. It removed a potential hurdle to his bid to recapture the White House, unanimously dismissing a state court ruling that could have barred him from the ballot for engaging in insurrection. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the hate speech that has been continuing within India since quite some time, especially since Narendra Modi came into power in 2014. A latest report that has been published by the India Hate Lab, which is a US-based research outfit, talks about 668 hate speech incidents that were logged in the country in the year 2023. We've been joined by Maheen Shafeeq. She's a regional affairs expert. She's right here in the studios with us to talk about that. Maheen, thank you very much to have joined us. Maheen, I'll begin with the facts and figures. This India Hate Lab report documents 668 hate speech cases targeting Muslims, also recording 256 of the events in the first half of 2023 and the number rising to around 430 in the second half of 2023. Who do you attribute or what do you attribute this increase in hate speech to, especially against Muslims?
All right, thank you so much for having me on the show. As you know, it's election season around the world, in India as well. The election season is the basic trigger of this hate speech against Muslim. BJP government has been propagating this for a while, but now the election season is in full swing. They have been depending on hate speech against Muslim, but also against other minorities to collect the popular support of the Hindu nationalist groups, who are basically powered or compelled by the Hindutva ideology. So that's what's driving this. And then secondly, this sells a lot in India. The groups, the vigilante groups, or just the general local population who are Hindu, who follow Hindu religion, are very anti-Muslim and anti-Christianity and anti-other minorities in India. So this sort of is very well accepted within their society, and this is what gathers votes for them. So as election season is in full swing, BJP is looking forward to getting elected again. Modi is looking forward to getting elected again. So
and this hate speech is one of the basic tools that he uses in order to come into power.
Exactly, yes, you're
all right. Now, 498 cases as recorded by this lab took place in Bharatiya Janata Party ruled states, union territories of New Delhi. Amongst the top 8 states with the most hate speech events, 6 were ruled by the BJP throughout the year. The other 2 states had legislative elections in 2023 and were ruled by the BJP for part of the year. What does this say about BJP's inclination towards propagating this kind of hate speech? And if so, I can understand that they need votes and they are, catering to the Hindu majority. But why cater to the Hindu majority in such a discriminatory fashion?
That is a very aptly framed question. BJP has been trying to turn India, which is a secular state and known for its diverse culture, diverse religion, diverse people from diverse languages, and they are attempting to turn it into a Hindutva state. A state that is not only being ruled by Hindu religion, but an ideology which is very xenophobic, which only includes the upper class Hindu people, people who follow Hindu religion, rather than including the whole of the community. So this secularism is evaporating in India rapidly, and that is what the BJP is using as its ground, as its tool to gather popular support in India.
All right. Also, I'd like to understand, are these events, these hate events that are being propagated by the extreme Hindus or the BJP-led government or the goons of the BJP-led government, are they specifically targeting Muslims or other minorities also being targeted? Because if I look at the specifics, 239 events include a direct call of violence against Muslims, 420 of the events include references to conspiracy theories, 169 events feature speeches calling for targeting Muslim places of worship as well. And not only that, out of the 193 events that took place between the 7th of October and the 31st of December 2023, the invasion of Gaza began from the 7th of October. All these events mentioned the Israel-Gaza war to stoke hatred towards Indian Muslims. Most of these events are targeting Muslims, but are Muslims the only target?
That is a very genuine concern, and the answer is no. It's not only Muslims who are being targeted. The Christian community, they published a 7-page long debate on where they raised their concerns that their properties, lives, their sanity is being taken away by the Hindu mob, and those are the people being targeted. And it's not just them. We have seen Sikh people being targeted, not just only in India but also abroad. India's massive illegal campaign for extrajudicial killing has reached Canada, and plots have been dismissed in US as well. And Pakistan has been a constant target of such acts. So it's not only Muslims. And regarding the ongoing war in Middle East, that is also inciting a lot of hate in India. And it's not that Hindus or the groups that are doing these acts in India understand the idea of promised land. They are trying to kind of relate Zionism with Hinduism and the Hindutva ideology, and they're trying to bridge a gap and to try to make a link between that. And they're trying to say that whatever is happening with Muslims in Middle East is exactly what should happen in India. And the report that you're referring to, there are a lot of quotes. They have done a very excellent research. They have quoted what quotes are being used by those groups. They are trying to call off trying to slaughter Muslims, especially mullah, targeting people who apparently look Muslims, trying to target women, Muslim women, trying to invade their houses. So it's all it's not just out of a blue.
So it's a targeted approach towards a certain community. In this case, this is the Muslims, but Muslims are not the only community that are being targeted in India. As you said, the Sikhs are being targeted, the Christians are being targeted, and we all know the farmers' protest that is going on as we speak, and that also is, they are trying to curtail one way or the other. If you look at, I would like to refer to that report and the facts and figures that have been posted, because they are very interesting. Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, between 118 to 65 events. rank amongst the top states for hate speech events, and these include these three are BJP ruled states. All right. Now 186 events have taken place in the states that are slated for elections in the year 2024. That is right here. And the majority of these events have been held in Maharashtra. I understand that the BJP is using these hate speeches or such tactics as an election tool, but don't you feel it is setting up a precedent that will be very hard to remove once in place?
You're exactly right. And once this trend is set up, and this trend is being infiltrated into the youth of India. So these events are being attended by over 5,000 youth in India. So youth is the future of the country. And if you are transferring that kind of hate within the youth, the chances are it's probably going to sustain. And as observers are of the view that BJP is going to come again in 2024, this trend of hate against Muslims is going to continue and it's going to sustain. And it seems likely that the next generation is also going to sustain unless
aren't you brainwashing a whole generation of youth, of an upcoming generation, into believing that India is no longer a secular state, but India is a majoritarian or a Hindu state? Exactly.
And there is a lot of research done on the altering of books and curriculum within India. The BJP government is removing the chapters on democracy in India. And this is, I'm talking about youth, but this is like early schooling, early years of schooling. So they have targeted kids from that age as well.
So you're transforming a whole generation into people that will adhere to the policy of the BJP and the RSS. Now, Hindu religious leaders have delivered around 14% of hate speeches at important events, and these are important Hindu leaders. I don't want to name them, but they are range from BJP legislators to also other leaders from the same party. Do you feel such people are given a free rein to say whatever they want in their hate towards the Muslim community or other communities? And to what end will they go in your point of view? Because you did talk about, murdering Muslims or inciting violence against women and burqa and so on and so forth.
Yes. So India is a state, and of course they have laws. But the problem is following the laws. It's a tug of war between court and the police. The court orders that these events should be curtailed or they should be withheld, but police cannot actually go ahead with that. Or sometimes police is trying to control that, but then court orders an okay or a go ahead for such rallies, and it's just always a tug of war between the police and the court, and that's why such incidents cannot be controlled. And then of course there's support of the BJP ruling party that allows such events. And a lot of I want to quote the Manipur violence that is going on. BJP, the people in BJP, they have said that if the government wanted, they could have controlled the violence that is going on in Manipur within 24 hours. But they did not want such act.
Because it goes in their favor.
Exactly.
All right. Now, this said, India was known to be and is still tom-tom to be by Narendra Modi himself as the largest democracy in the world, as a pluralistic country. He has said that many a times in the G20 summit as well. But can we really call India a pluralistic state, the world's largest democracy now, with all that we are seeing through facts and figures?
There's a lot of research done on this, especially by Swedish Institute. They have termed India as the worst autocratizer in last 10 years. And they have blamed the BJP's polarization policies in that. And they suggest that what should be done about this. They say there should be a targeted boycott against these entities who are trying to butcher democracy in that country. And a lot of the states are cognizant of the fact that there is a great democratic backslide within India. Major publishing houses like the New York Times, Financial Times, even in France, they have quoted the democratic backslide that is going on in India extensively, and there are a lot of reports on this, on how India is being, is not a democratic country anymore.
But nevertheless, the West still sides with them. The West, despite whatever is happening in the US and Canada, still continues to side with them and calls India its main ally. Now, the discrimination not just against the Muslims, is also against the low caste Hindus that are the Dalits. The caste system was officially abolished in the year 1951. But this social hierarchy that the RSS or the BJP continues to propagate, continues to dominate Indian society as well. Do you feel under the BJP rule this societal hegemony will continue to cast itself?
Regardless of the demolishing of these caste system, the caste system continues. It's sort of ingrained within their blood, and it's ingrained within their social gatherings. And again, a lot of people only interact with people who are part of their caste, so they don't interact with people who are below their caste. And the caste system is so strong that there's no chances of upward mobility. Even people who are from the lower class, they are not allowed to, they don't have opportunities to get better jobs, better employment, and so they remain excluded from the main area where they can earn. So they continue to be that low class. So the systematic oppression continues, so regardless of them demolishing the laws.
Final question concerns Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This is also something that has been talked about in the co-commanders conference today, but also Pakistan highlights it time and again. The Muslims of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are also specifically being targeted by the BJP-led government. They are not being given their right to self-determination. All kinds of violence are being perpetrated to them. The reality of what is happening is not allowed to come out. When the world is watching, when we know that the UN MOGIP is not being allowed to even enter India illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, shouldn't the United Nations, shouldn't the important countries that call India its allies should also pressurize India to at least take care of its human rights issue?
A lot of the time, recently, since like the whole Sikh assassination aspect has started, the Western governments have tried to distance themselves from India. But how long is that going to sustain is still a question, because India right now is a partner for them, and India is sort of a they have to choose between an evil and a lesser evil. So India is the lesser evil that they're continuing to choose.
Really, you feel so? Okay, I don't think it's the lesser of the evil, but nevertheless, I hope the West, revisits its policy vis-a-vis India. They can continue to have any alliance or partnership with India, but at the same time, also, put pressure on India so as to it return to its old policies of pluralism, of democracy, of giving rights to all the people, irrespective of their caste, gender, religion.
That is very important for people living there.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you,
Maheen, Shafeeq, a regional affairs expert, who have joined us, who have talked to us about this very important issue. And this is not us who are saying this. This is a proper report that has enunciated with facts and figures on how India is propagating hate specifically against Muslims, but not just relegated to Muslims. But of course, we see that Muslims are the main target. Thank you very much, Maheen, to have joined us. Kindly stay with us till we continue with our show. And our second topic, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the conflict between Israel and Palestine that has ended its 151st day. Dr. Jamil Ahmed Khan, former ambassador, joins us online. A lot to discuss with you, Ambassador Saab. When you look at what is happening, with respect to Rafah, we didn't talk about that, but 117 plus people have been killed, hundreds, more than 700 have been injured. Then Israeli forces continue to fire, on this crowd of Palestinians who await aid distribution. Again, this is the second time that has happened. A woman spent 11 years trying to conceive, mourns her twins because they have been killed in one of the attacks. At least 30,600 Palestinians have been killed, 72,000 have been injured. What is the end game in your point of view, sir?
Well, Israel has very clearly spelled it out, the Prime Minister of Israel, that they would continue with their aggression and with their war, and so long as they are able to eliminate Hamas. But Hamas is one factor which is, I would say now, it is no more than the excuse. But basically what they want, what they are wanting is the same thing what they did in 1948 and what they did in 1967. Once they had first attacked the territory of Palestine, and of course some of the territories of Syria and Egypt. So after, and some of the territories of Jordan, and then after occupying that, they started having the settlement. Even in this case, they have started extending the settlement in those areas where they have really driven the Palestinian, rather they killed the Palestinian, and the rest of them, those injured and survivors, they just drove them away from there. They requested Egypt that if Egypt could provide Sinai desert for establishing a new city for Palestine. So what does it imply? Only one thing,
Why would the
that they want.
Palestinians, Ambassador Saab, why would the Palestinians go to another land, to another country? Why shouldn't they stay in their land where they have been staying for hundreds and thousands of years? Why are they being pushed out of the land by people who do not even own that land? You know, that is the basic premise of the whole issue, for which a lot of people like myself and yourself have been discussing this issue since quite a number of days. I'd also like to understand, you talk about the role of countries, but I'd like to also, I'll come to the peace deal a bit later, but Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey, has been one of the most vocal critics of Israel. He calls it a terror state. He says they are waging a genocide. And Turkey has also arrested around 7 Mossad links very recently. Do you feel that Israel is also going against all those countries who are not favoring its stance as far as this conflict is concerned, and that is why we see more and more of incursion of such Mossad agents in countries like Turkey?
No, Israel, they know that they have the warships of United States. They know that the United States is at their back. They know it's not the first time that the United States is supporting Israel. They know that the United States has always supported Israel, starting from its inception and even before. So they know that so long as that physical, psychological, legal means Security Council support, and of course the financial. Just about a couple of days ago, the Congress approved a chunk of money, and out of which about $14 billion. Israel has gotten about more than 15,000 tons of the arms, ammunition, and explosive, which is being rained on the Palestinians. So that is the biggest support about Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Well, yes, he's quite vocal, but I would expect from very tall leadership like Recep Tayyip Erdogan that they should summon OIC. I know the OIC doesn't have that much of teeth, but at least the members of the OIC like Pakistan and like Tayyip Erdogan and some other vocal members, they should summon, and they have the authority under the charter of the OIC. That is Article 9 of the OIC, that extraordinary session. They called us extraordinary session at the start of it, and they passed very weak resolutions. In fact, there were certain vocal members of the OIC, and they had asked for the sanctions from the platform of OIC. That means the boycott. That means that no trade with Israel. That means invoking Article 18 of the OIC the charter, in which it clearly says that the Israel, all the member state of the OIC, they would keep striving hard to convince the world and to help the Palestinians to get their land back. Instead of getting land back, their land is still rather being occupied, and that's the whole purpose behind this entire thing. One is of Israel's that rhetoric that they want to eliminate Hamas. And if they wanted to eliminate Hamas, then why more than 30,000 or almost 31,000 people, half of them were children, and women were
and elderly in hospitals, and you are also targeting the aid organizations, the NGOs that are trying to help those, where despite the fact that they have given you their geo positioning, you deliberately target them, and creating this illusion that we will not let anybody help the Palestinians, irrespective of whether they belong to a community like you said, Hamas, or not. I'd like to also understand, there is this ceasefire deal that is in the process with Cairo, with the Qatar, with the US, with Palestine also joining in, but Israel not attending. Do you feel there is some kind of a future for a ceasefire to happen before the holy month of Ramadan comes?
I'm just crossing my fingers, and I'm hoping, because the insistence on Hamas and the Palestinians are that they should free all the hostages. Now, what kind of a guarantee do they get in turn that if they free all the hostages, then what next? Because the kind of history, the kind of trend which Israel has followed in occupying Palestinian land. Now I'm talking about 1948 onward. That it shows that whenever there was an aggression from Israel, they have never left that land back. What to talk of that against all the Security Council resolution? Israel, there is no value to Israel so far as Security Council resolution is concerned, and they have not really regarded Security Council resolution 1999 and even earlier. More than 27 times, the U.S. has vetoed the resolution which went against Israel since its inception. And this, more than 3 times, they have vetoed the Gaza ceasefire resolution. So, what does it imply? It simply indicates that they have a very huge support of a country which can veto anything which is in favor of
All right,
Palestine.
Jamil Saab, Dr. Jamil Saab, let's talk about this main strong ally that is the United States. I'd like to refer to certain comments that have come to by knowledge very recently. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris reiterates her country's support for Israel, pushes for more humanitarian aid to enter the Gaza Strip when she talks with Israeli War Cabinet member Benny Gantz a day after she called for a ceasefire. U.S. Department of State spokesperson Matthew Miller says the U.S. is focused on increasing and sustaining aid in Gaza through as many channels as possible. He says people are desperate for food and for water and for medicine. Then comes the uncommitted movement pressurizing U.S. President Joe Biden to change his Gaza policy that has now turned its sights to voters in the state of Minnesota ahead of the Super Tuesday presidential primaries. We all remember, what happened in Michigan as well, as far as these primaries are concerned. Do you feel that this change in U.S. attitude as far as, giving aid and trying to do something and calling for ceasefire from all these people is coming in the wake of the elections that are going to happen a couple of months down the lane in the U.S.? On the one hand, Kamala Harris talks about the Palestinians. On the other hand, she gives full support to Israel. Is this a political gimmick in your point of view to attract Arab American voters when you talk of giving aid to Palestine, or is there more to it? Is US really genuine in its concern for the Palestinians?
No, one, that they definitely don't want to lose those people who are the supporters of humanitarian aid and who are the supporters of the war against the war crime, those who are campaigning, those who are protesting in the United States and elsewhere. So they are just trying to win over again to them, but it's of no success, because all the actions and all the acts of the United States, whether the State Department or the leadership, it basically is producing the results. Otherwise, there is no result which could be in favor of, or which could be in accordance with the humanitarian requirement or humanitarian laws. There was no stage where the United States could put their foot down and ask Israel that we are withdrawing our warship, we are withdrawing all our support, and we are not going to provide you these 15,000 tons of all the arms and ammunition and nothing more. You are on your own. Then in that case, the situation would have been different. But if we understand the entire network of United States in which there's so much of influence of Israel, that even the leadership, they find themselves in a very difficult situation. I'll just quote one thing. And it was back in 2011, I think, during the cabinet meeting, once the foreign minister of that time had raised a point to Ariel Sharon that the U.S. is pressurizing us. It's the cabinet meeting. It's reported and it's tabulated that the United States is asking us to really stop some actions which they were taking at that point. And then Ariel Sharon said that, don't worry about U.S. pressure on Israel. Jewish people control U.S. and Israel. And this has been reported back in 2011. So if we understand this very network, what they have there, then in that case, we understand why the veto is used so frequently in favor of Israel. And then we understand why the genocide is going on unabated, where we have lost, and it's the biggest tragedy to the humanity. And this is not said by analysts like myself. It is said by the United Nations UNRWA people that Gaza has become the graveyard of the world. And
Now,
then
Dr. Jamil, I'm sorry to cut you short. Let's talk of UNRWA, because you mentioned UNRWA, you mentioned financial mechanism or assistance to the Palestinians as well. And we all know that there are certain countries that are now pressurizing that aid to UNRWA be stopped, so that it does not continue to help the Palestinians, because in their point of view, that some of those people who are part of UNRWA took part in the October 7 incident, but these are based on unsubstantiated facts and figures. As we all know, Israel has ramped up the criticism of UNRWA, saying 450 of its employees were members of group in the Gaza Strip, although it provides no evidence, as I told you, to back this accusation. On the other hand, Norway's United Nations ambassador says the country has decided to continue its funding for UNRWA, as the agency is the main lifeline in Gaza. The UNRWA chief Lazarani tells the United Nations General Assembly that his agency is in uncharted territory with serious consequences for global and regional security if more funding is not secured. What is going to happen as far as UNRWA is concerned, in your point of view?
Well, the people are starving to death, and starvation is being used as a weapon of war in Gaza Strip, and this is what Filippo Lazzarani, who has been my colleague while I was in United Nations, and I know him personally. We've been having a lot of meetings together, and I know he is a man of good standing, and he's a humanitarian person right from the very beginning. And what he says is that even the staff of the UNRWA are being tortured, and the no funding is all dried up, and people would start dying, and they're just close to the famine, which has almost started therein. And that's what the report is presenting, Filippo Lazzarani, who is the UNRWA chief. So the situation is definitely very clear and very scary. But somehow, unfortunately, so many head of the states of the members of the OIC, or for that matter, those countries from where we had a large processions and the protests in respective countries, but those government, because of those that their alliance with the powerful countries of the United States, they are not being able to push the matter in a way that the Security Council resolution is passed for the ceasefire. And once even the ceasefire, the resolution, which is a draft now and which is being presented, they do not agree anything less than release of the hostages, and they are not really giving 100% concrete guarantees of the fact that they will be able to get the occupied land released, and they would be able to get the Security Council resolutions implemented. The convoys are coming under fire, and they would be able to really ensure that there is all the convoys of the aid the agencies are allowed to go there. But in any case, once the fundings have been stopped, and once the funding and even the tax collection, which the Palestinian Authority was taking, that is also dried down. That has started. That Israel has started by itself. So there's hardly any tax collection, but whatever is there, that is dried up completely. So the Palestinians do not have even a penny to help themselves. Or the UNRWA, which was hosting more than about 1.2 million people in their camps and in their facilities, they have dried up completely so far as the aid is concerned. Netanyahu says very recently that Israel enjoys the support of the public of the United States, and that's why they will continue as long as they have the support. So they have made built up their own narrative. I guess this would go on, and Israel, unless it achieves its objective, which it had evolved back in 1897, the concept of Greater Israel, unless they.
And of course, unless they do not
towards that side, in that direction.
Ambassador Saab, thank you very much to have joined us, to have given us a brief outlook on what the situation is currently on day 151 of this conflict between Israel and Palestine. We, like yourself, like myself and so many others, wish for a peaceful end to this conflict, one that could lead to a ceasefire and then to a two-state solution, or any solution that would be viable for the people of Palestine. We really hope and pray that all the forces that could come together and help the Palestinians in this dire hour of need. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Let's come to our next story, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the National People's Congress, which is China's parliament, that kicked off its annual session on Tuesday with Premier Li Qiang delivering his maiden work report in the Great Hall of the People in Tiananmen Square. More in the following report.
China's political session is underway, with the National People's Congress beginning its annual session on Tuesday. During the opening, Premier Li Qiang delivered the government work report. He summarized the achievements of 2023, highlighting China's 5.2% GDP growth and over 6% increase in per capita disposable income. Additionally, he set targets for this year's development.
A comprehensive analysis and assessment shows that China's development environment this year will continue to feature both strategic opportunities and challenges, with favorable conditions outweighing unfavorable ones. The main targets for development this year are projected as follows: GDP growth of around 5%, over 12 million new urban jobs, surveyed urban unemployment rate of around 5.5%, CPI increase of around 3%.
Premier Li also highlighted the need to intensify macroeconomic regulation. He called for strengthening a proactive fiscal policy, focusing on enhancing quality and efficiency and reinforcing consistency in macro policies. He outlined several key tasks for this year, including accelerating the development of new quality productive forces, emphasizing industrial upgrading and high-quality development.
Striving to modernize the industrial system and developing new quality productive forces at a faster pace. We should give full rein to the leading role of innovation, spur industrial innovation by making innovations in science and technology, and press ahead with new industrialization so as to raise total factor productivity, steadily foster new growth drivers and strengths, and promote a new leap forward in the productive forces.
Another task is deepening reforms to stimulate business entities, including state-owned, private, and foreign enterprises. Additionally, he highlighted the need to accelerate the building of a unified national market and advance fiscal, financial, and taxation reforms. He further outlined measures China will take to attract foreign investment.
We will intensify efforts to attract foreign investment. All market access restrictions on foreign investment in manufacturing will be abolished, and market access restrictions in services sectors such as telecommunications and healthcare will be reduced.
2024 marks the 75th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. It is also a crucial year for Chinese leaders to achieve their 14th five-year plan. They're using their annual meeting to set the tone and priorities for what comes next on China's modernization journey. CGTN.
To discuss more on this, we've been joined from China by a leading reporter of the CGTN channel, Wang Mangmang. Thank you very much to have joined us. I'd like to understand, of course, we know that the annual session of the 14th National People's Congress opened in Beijing today. The deputies have gathered from all over the People's Republic of China at this Great Hall of the People to review this government work report and set agendas for the coming year. What is the development tone that is being set for this year?
That's right, Omar. While some think the political events here in Beijing are largely domestic, they do offer the world a window to observe China's development and understand its policy direction. The National Legislature began in Beijing, its annual session here in Beijing, with the eagerly awaited government work report, which is both a report card of what the country has achieved in the past year and also a blueprint setting out major goals and targets for the year ahead. Now, the Chinese economy expanded 5.2% last year, as we heard in that previous report. It's on the trajectory to further recover from the pandemic, and the focus now is not about the speed and scale of development, but quality, looking more at the structures of development, whether it's balanced and sustainable, whether it's green and future-oriented, whether it could keep up with the pace of the advancement of technology. So the fact that China was able to meet that target last year conveys a message of confidence. And Premier Li Qiang said in the government work report that the Chinese economy showed strong resilience despite internal pressure and external difficulties. And also consumption is picking up. Authorities were citing impressive tourism figures over the 7-day Chinese New Year travel peak, saying that is a sign of strong internal demands. Omar?
All right. Now, I'd also like, you talked about the work report that has been presented by Premier Li Qiang. He has set a 6% increase in per capita disposable income, 5.2% GDP growth, and he has set targets for this year's development as well. What are those tasks and targets, if I were to ask you to resume some of them for our audience?
Well, certainly the most important one is GDP growth at around 5%. It may be a modest figure, but it shows the government's determination to really make sure that the economy stays on solid footing. The world's second largest economy picked up on the whole last year, but challenges still remain, including real estate debt, sluggish domestic demands, as well as weak overseas demand. So it remains to be seen how Beijing interprets these challenges and how it will use the policy tools and financial tools to address them, to really interpret them from a global context and to address them with a holistic approach. And also, China wants to create 12 million urban jobs and keep the unemployment rate at around 5.5% this year. This is certainly very important because the employment of young people, especially fresh college graduates, is of great concern. Initiatives have been taken to promote vocational training just to nurture skilled workers and to help them land jobs that specifically match their talent and market needs.
All right. Finally, what are the other takeaways as far as, for example, defense, science and technology, children and the elderly, energy or food security are concerned?
And certainly, one key takeaway is about the development of science and technology. There's been a lot of discussion surrounding the topic of these new quality productive forces. This idea was introduced by Chinese President Xi Jinping in September, and you may wonder what exactly they are and why they are important to the nation's development in general, this overarching goal of high quality development in particular. Well, they essentially refer to productivity in which science and technology plays a leading role, and they also relate to future industries. In January, China released its guideline for the innovation development of 6 key industries, including manufacturing, information, energy, materials, space, and of course health. And with the rapid development of AI, Omar, as we all know, because video journalism is being challenged, some say, many sectors in society will experience revolutionary changes never seen before. So it remains to be seen how Chinese authorities will take advantage of the development of technologies and to further promote its innovation in different sectors.
Wonderful, and we look forward to all those innovations that the People's Republic of China will be taking up during the year 2024 as it sets up the pace for so many other countries to follow and to emulate just like ours. Thank you very much to have joined us, Wang Mangmang, a leading reporter from CGTN, all the way from China, and giving us details as far as this very important National People's Congress that kicked off today is concerned, and of course the ultimate results that are going to be achieved through it. Thank you so very much to have joined us. Let's come to our last story, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the US Supreme Court that has ruled that Donald Trump can now stay on for the Colorado primary ballot. They removed a potential hurdle to Donald Trump's bid to recapture the White House, that is through dismissing a state court ruling that could have barred him from the ballot for encouraging insurrection. And this dismissing has come unanimously by a total vote in favor of Donald Trump. Now, the high-stakes ruling in favor of the former president came on the eve of the Super Tuesday primaries that are expected to cement Trump's march towards the Republican nomination to take on Joe Biden in November in the presidential elections in the United States of America. All 9 members of the court agreed with the result. Of course, the case stems from a ruling in December by the state Supreme Court in Colorado, one of the 15 states and territories voting on Super Tuesday. And of course, they had cited the 14th Amendment as that is concerned. What that looks as far as Donald Trump is concerned is that he's all set to go as the main candidate against Joe Biden. But there are so many other additional cases against Donald Trump that there could be a possibility that he might go. There could be a possibility that he might be stopped at some time during his whole campaign. Only time will tell what happens as far as the case of Donald Trump is concerned. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. See you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.